Now look, Gene Fama is a real smart financial economist. He'll probably get the Nobel Prize. His claim to fame is to show that short-term T-bill rates are the rate of inflation, the best expectation. Right now, the short-term inflation rate's 0.2%. If you live in the same world I do, there's nobody who thinks inflation's 0.2%. Just go see concert tickets, see the price of beer, see the price of everything. Right now, the government has this idea that you shouldn't even care about the cost of fuel and food. You should think about the core rate of inflation. I tell my class, that's really a great concept, but food's kind of expensive and the kids won't eat anything else. What the hell is it when you've got a core rate of inflation that doesn't include the cost of Cheerios? It's fiction is what it is. If you have higher debt, if the government starts spending 3 times as much as it takes in the form of taxes, that's not going to affect interest rates? I'll tell you what, write it down. Today is April 2nd. And what they didn't tell us on April Fool's Day is that inflation is going to go up a ton and interest rates are going to soar. And there is no free borrowing on the part of the government. That's going to take funds away from alternate uses like borrowing money for school, borrowing money to buy a car, borrowing money to buy a house. If you had the opportunity to refinance a house, you do it now, fast as you can. The interest rates on homes are going to go up a ton. Now, taxes, printing, and borrowing. What's this business about you think I'm going to pay for the bailout? With all due respect, I don't make $250,000 a year. I'm not going to pay it. Those guys are going to pay it. It's not true. The measurement of how much the government is taking from you is spending, not taxes. Spending. A real popular thing in fiscal finances, don't tax people, tax corporations. They're ugly. They're at Wall Street. They're in New York. We tax those guys. Don't tax people in Kansas. It's a fiction. What is a firm? A firm is a legal device. And a firm hooks up consumers, workers, management, stockholders, and suppliers. If you tax a firm with a corporate income tax, the firm ain't paying nothing. Paper doesn't pay taxes, people do. What people are going to pay the tax? It's the hot potato. No one likes to pay taxes, so you pass it around. Slowest guy gets to pay the tax. Do stockholders pay it? When you put a big corporate income tax on, are stockholders the first ones who are going to get hammered? Not necessarily, because they're mobile. If you put, what city in the 1980s had the biggest increase in air quality? Do you know? Gary, Indiana. You know why? EPA restrictions went on, and they shut down all the steel mills. Now, I'm here in Kansas, and I think that's real cool, because I like clean air, and I like fish that can breathe, and I like birds that can fly and all that. And I'm not getting hammered. I'm buying my car from Japan. I like Toyotas, really do. And so, who paid that tax? Well, the stockholders took it on the chin because their expected profits didn't come out. Anybody who rented land or built land for factories lost out. The employees lost out big time. Why? Labor is less mobile than capital. The miners stay in West Virginia long after the mines close because it's home. They have ties to geographic areas because of people and friends and experience. So don't fall for the myth that somebody else's, it's a costless deal, it ain't going to hurt you a bit. We're just going to tax somebody else. It's not true. You're going to be paying for the bailouts because you are the ones who are producing goods and services that are being directed away from ends that you choose towards ends that other people choose for you. You know, it wasn't too long ago that people were talking about privatization. Well, now we're talking about, woohoo, nationalization. Isn't that great? Whoopee! The guys who deliver the mail get to do brain surgery. Whoopee! Think about it a second, would you? What the hell is brain surgery? What does that manual look like? How do you possibly define brain surgery? Is it okay if you use the Black & Decker in the back of the... Is that a brain surgery? Think about mail for a second. If you had a message that positively, absolutely had to get there by tomorrow, would you put it in the U.S. Postal Service? I'm thinking you'd probably send an email or Twitter or something like that, right? Right? U.S. Postal Service did not invent email. The U.S. Postal Service did not invent overnight delivery of parcel packages like FedEx and UPS. They are very happy with the idea that they have a monopoly on the mailbox in front of your house, and they will be daggummed if they'll let UPS or FedEx or anybody mess with their mailbox that you paid for. So why are you so enthusiastic about having the federal government run health care? Forget about the Frisbee park. Who cares? Does a woman have the right to choose her own doctor? Is that a personal decision, or is that something for a bureaucrat to decide? What sorts of medical practices would you reimburse? I'll tell you something. All the women will be offended by this, so don't listen. I took the family to Argentina a couple years ago for Christmas. Take the trip. It's worth. Go to Bariloche. It's fabulous. And the Argentine are all on the Atkins diet. They drink wonderful cheap red wine, and they eat lots of meat. Tons of meat. It's wonderful. And we're driving around, and I said to the cabbie, so what's the deal? And he's a guy, and he laughs, and he says, oh, you mean with the strings with the two balloons? And I said, yeah. And he said that breast implants were a covered medical procedure under the public health care system in Argentina. Now, guys, I get it, but I really don't. It seems like kind of an odd thing to put in public health care. Well, what kinds of things are you willing to have as being mandatory and covered and elective and none covered? Think about it. I'm not so sure that you want somebody else picking cars for you. I'm quite sure that you don't want somebody else deciding what you do with your own relationship with a doctor. So, have we done this before? Have we ever done these bailout things and it's not worked out perfectly well? Well, actually, we have. It's called the Great Society. Now, you know it's difficult to measure the performance of firms and individuals. We measure performance of individuals by salaries and performance of firms by profit and profit rate, right? It gets tough to do. And you know all the problems of accrual accounting because you're taking the Shaftel course, right? So you know accounting. Accounting is a very interesting part of business. To truly measure the performance of an organization is a fascinating subject. How do you measure the wealth of nations? Is Japan rich because they have lots of U.S. T-bills in the treasury? Is China rich because they've got almost $1 trillion US while many of their citizens are starving and suffering economic deprivation? I'm thinking maybe that the welfare of nations is measured by the well-being of the common man and woman. And if you think about it, let's do it this way. Suppose you had the people that designed the Great Society and sat them down and said, these are the things that have happened in the last 40 years. High school graduation rates have plummeted. Let me stop a second. What are the most controversial subjects in America today? Give me two of the most controversial subjects in America. Stuff you don't talk about at Easter dinner? Abortion? Religion? Anything else? Gun control?